that everybody on the pitch, outside the pitch, fights for this minimum game.
Teeny hit. He has found Fuskins. It's an excellent goal. And Caliens. The shot driven in. Shabala makes it three. Shabala is able to make sure. Well done, holding up this side. Now they're heading to the group stages. Pulls it back and there's the finish. And Riga lead.
And welcome back. In this, our very first proper episode, as it were, we are going to look back at the first round of the 2023 Virsliga, see what happened, talk about it, and then look at what we can look forward to the next weekend.
Yep, exactly.
So, that was something, right?
Yeah, quite the weekend for Virsliga.
We had it all. I think literally we had games that almost shocked. We had games that were delayed. We had a snowstorm, and we only had 4 goals.
Yeah, exactly. Only thing missing was maybe a red card, but other than that, quite the eventful match day.
So I think what we'll do is we'll go sequentially game by game, talk about them, and then, So Valmiera, RFS, last year's champions versus champions of the year before that. That was probably the biggest game. That was the biggest game for sure of the round.
And also the opening game.
The opening game, and you almost went to it.
I was planning to, but in the morning woke up and just realized the weather is just, it's not worth the trip from Riga to Valmiera. The roads were looking a bit dangerous, probably quite icy. So, made, I think, the right choice to not go to the game. And even though it was goalless, which could be seen as a boring game, it was still eventful. I did watch it. Live on Sported Centers, but quite the game. Quite the game.
I mean, it essentially went from being a football game to being an ice hockey match halfway through the first half. The snowstorm started just as 20 minutes into the first half, and at the end of the game, every few minutes, guys had to run out with snow shovels to clear the lines on the field. And I mean, it was a sight to behold. There was a few centimeters of snow on the pitch. For sure, it's quite shocking that they even managed to complete the game in that weather.
Yeah, it is quite surprising. But of course, because of the snow, the quality of football was a low one, of course, as suspected. But still, the teams fought till the end. They did have some chances. Of course, it was a lot of just booting the ball up the field, but still eventful, especially to see how the foreigners will adapt to these conditions, especially some who probably, or perhaps have never even seen snow. One of which I think could be named even man of the match, the goalkeeper of Valmiera, the Venezuelan, the man from Venezuela, also,
First few moments with him kind of didn't inspire much confidence, but then
shaky.
It was very shaky. In fact, RFS almost scored 20 seconds into the game, but then he pretty much saved everything. Granted, most of the shots went straight at him, but that does mean that he was in the right position every single time. And to be frank, Valmiera, I think, got lucky not to lose this particular game, snow or no snow.
Yeah, I would agree. Even though, again, the quality of football couldn't really be high because of the snow, RFS did looked the better team. They did have more chances. I think in terms of XG, they should have won. I think 1-0 or 2-0. But yeah, a bit of luck for Valmiera, some quality of ulces by being in the right place, but also the fact that it's harder to score due to the snow. The ball travels slower and everything.
Have you ever played in such conditions?
I don't think in that extreme conditions. I've played in snow, but yeah, not. It's if I have, it was probably a friendly, and at some point it was probably just ended due to some obvious reasons because it's just not worth it to play. But yeah, props to both teams for finishing the match. Props to all the people who went out with the shovels, who cleaned the pitch. Quite a sight to see. Yeah. Also, I think it was quite an interesting thing that the RFS played in white kits. Pretty much blended in with the snow. And at some points, it was the live feed of the match was also quite an interesting sight.
It was. They had to change balls at one point, and the current ball became invisible. So they had to. I think someone went and found balls used during last season, those yellow-orange ones, but that
exactly.
It didn't help me much. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's one bone I had to pick with the organizers probably, because I think usually if you suspect snow, you should have a backup ball which is made for the snow, a really bright, usually orange one. I'm not sure why they didn't have that. I thought every team is supposed to have one. At least I know when I played in the second highest league, first league as we call it, when teams are given the balls for the season, one of them is the snow one. So not sure why they didn't have it, but still, just a very unusual match because of the snow, ball change, a bit of an invisibility.
Yeah. And
even though Valmiera probably did get lucky, I would say also that 0-0 is also quite a fair result, I think, especially due to the conditions. It's just, it was an interesting start to the season, but definitely more to see.
Yeah, the coach in the post-match press conference, the coach of RFS, Victor Smoros, said that there was not much football to play because of the snow, and the coach of Valmiera similarly called the game a game of ping pong. But interestingly, the coach of Valmiera also pointed out that the RFS forward Claudio from Côte d'Ivoire shocked him in that he said that it seemed like he played in snow his whole life and caused them many different issues.
Yeah, he adapted really well.
Yeah, and he's a powerful forward as it is. I really like him that he's able to displace defenders and attack the ball in the opponent's penalty box effectively. But just plowing through the snow all game long, very impressive. Well done, Cedric. But what can we say about the game? The Valmiera lined up in what is probably going to be their new formation for this season. Last season they played 4-3-3 pretty much with no interruption. This time they lined up 4-1-4-1 with Ukrainian Zhilisko being the anchor. Obviously difficult to make any conclusions because of the snowy conditions, but I don't know. They are still dangerous, obviously. They passes are incisive. They did well on both wings. They couldn't really get the ball into the box as well, and you can very much see the absence of Yokota and Mena being very obvious. But it's an interesting formation. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then RFS equally tried something new, lining up 3-4-1-2, which is sort of more of an Italian approach to football. And I can certainly, I could note that they got better at moving the ball through the middle than last season. Last season seemed like it's flanks only, and middle was only a defensive function. now could see them moving through the middle, still going on to flanks with Robert Savalnieks back and able to cross from the right. Unfortunately, Petr Maric, the left wing back, was out, I think, with a cold, so they couldn't line him up. But still, Emerson, the Brazilian, working that flank for crosses from the left, hoping to find Ilic or Claudio playing just below the center forward. And it was good to see. I really enjoyed Markiev, the Finnish U21 national team player, a new addition to RFS this season. He seems solid. He tried dribbling in the snow successfully, so it was good to see. It's going to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, Markiev coming over from Spartaks, from Jurmala, the team that's no longer in Virsliga. He got straight into the starting lineup. Very impressive of him. But yeah, nice to see. A young player, looks good. And yeah, both teams, I think, also pretty much put their best lineup up for the game. It's hard to tell with Valmiera because they announced a lot of new signings surely before the start of the season. So I think we will see. Also, as Jurgiskan said, the first two rounds are not really for let's say like the proper season. After the first two rounds, there's going to be the international break. And he said that after the international break, that's when the final lineup is sort of down and ready for the proper season. While I think RFS did really put out the best squad, apart from maybe the two subs that came on, Zuzins and Maras, that could potentially go into the starting lineup. But then again, I'm not really sure who would be out of the starting lineup. Probably Jata, but that's only if they play a different formation. So yeah, something new from both teams, something to look forward to, whether they keep with this formation, this squad in the future. But yeah, definitely two title contenders battling out in the snow.
Yeah, both exciting and a little bit disappointing that it was a goalless draw at the end. It almost felt like a friendly at the end of it. That two strong teams, but because of the weather, couldn't really battle it out to the fullest. So next game for Valmiera will be home again against Liepaja on the 18th. And RFS is going to participate in the big Riga derby as an away team against Riga FC. Also 18th. That's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, huge match already in the second round. Let's just hope the weather is favorable for good football. And that should be a good game. Should be a very good game.
Yeah, the second round will bring last season's top 4 teams pitted against one another. So it's a big one. Very excited for it. So moving on, next game was Meta versus Liepaja. It was supposed to take place immediately after the RFS and Valmiera bout, and the operative word here is supposed to have. The game was postponed because of snow in Riga, and I don't believe we have a date scheduled for it in the future yet.
Yeah, first of all, quite a weird decision, I think. First of all, I think that's the beauty of Virsliga. As you said, we had it all. First match was just a lot of snow, people coming out with shovels, something you rarely, if ever, would see in any other leagues. But then the game postponed. Also something that does happen from time to time in Virsliga. But yeah, I don't think the snow was that bad. I saw some videos that the pitch was clean. There was pretty much no snow on it. And okay, it was snowing, but if you compare it to the weather in Valmiera, not sure why it was cancelled. It was deemed as just, I think, dangerous for players or something like that. Unusual decision, I think.
That's what I heard as well. And maybe the reason is because it got cancelled roughly around the time when the snow really kicked in Valmiera. So maybe someone just got a little bit too nervous that something similar will happen in Riga. But as you said, by that point, it wasn't even snowing in Riga anymore. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fun enough for Met to have a training instead of the game, which is what they did.
Yeah, and Liepa just took a bus trip to Riga and back.
Can't imagine any of the teams being satisfied with the decision, but what can you do? And yeah, let's hope they do have the game soon enough, because if they postpone it too long, then it messes with the schedule and no one likes that.
True. Well, next game was Auda versus Supernova Salaspils, which did happen. It also happened in Riga. It happened not too far from where the meta game was supposed to take place, and that's the one you actually made it to.
Yeah, I was present at the game. It was a good game. The weather, did get a bit better. It was barely snowing, so the pitch was clean. It wasn't white, and football could take place. There were even couple of brave players playing without any undergarments. Well, I think you call it thermotops or something like that. There were surprisingly a lot of people present to see the game as well. Of course, it wasn't full, but still, for Auda versus Supernova, which is, I don't think they're the usually most viewed teams live. Yeah, there were quite a crowd, and for the game itself, Auda did take the victory. 2-0, scored 2 goals in a very short amount of time, in the 28th and 30th minute. But I think it's a very deserved victory. They were the better team in the first half. They convincingly controlled the game. They had a lot of opportunities, while Supernova in first half barely made it into the penalty box of Auda. But yeah, also a lot of interesting things to talk about this game. For example, the squads. I think we can move on to.
Yeah. For Auda, first win for Simo Valakari, the Finnish coach in Latvia. That's something noteworthy. Auda lined up 3-4-3, fairly, let's say, standard lineup, with the Italian, I think, Piteo making his Virsliga debut.
Yeah, some people still debating whether he's Italian or Argentinian. I've not looked too much into that, but I think he has a double citizenship or something, because some people think he's Argentinian.
I'm going off of the commentators who I think were referring to him as Italian. But he scored a lovely volley from coming in from the right, I think. It was a genuinely lovely goal. In terms of, so for him that was a debut both for Auda and in Virsliga, but in terms of debuts for Auda, it's the Swede Bergqvist and the local player Skrebels debuting for Auda.
And also the goalkeeper, which is I think the most surprising pick in the starting 11. Robert Zozos, coming over from Riga FC, making his debut for Auda. Which, a bit surprising, because the other keeper, Fabrice Ondoa, is, I think, the most important figure in the Auda squad. He's the team captain, a very experienced player coming from Barcelona Academy, played for his national team. Almost made it to the World Cup, I believe.
Barely.
He was almost the third pick. So, quite an interesting player, and I don't know why he was benched, perhaps due to the weather conditions, but I shouldn't rule out the competition as well, because Robert Ozos is a very good goalkeeper, and I think it's just a bit of an unfortunate luck for him that he has been sent to Auda and playing there, which is also, of course, a good team, but from Riga FC, where he was the main goalkeeper. Last season wasn't too good for him, but looks like a good comeback.
Absolutely, yeah. Simo Valakari was asked this very question during the press conference, why Ozos and not Ondoa, and he didn't really respond one way or the other. But Ozos, of course, the national team first pick goalkeeper for the longest time. Last season injuries kept him out of the game for a while, and then there was some controversy with some things that he said in the throes of passion to one of the ball boys during one of the games. So we'll see. Hopefully this will he'll have a stable season, and with such competition as on Doha, I mean, maybe we'll see a stellar comeback from him.
Of course, also should be worthy to mention the first goal of this Virsliga season, which was scored by Vyacheslav Sisayevs, the central defender. A very good presence in the air, which he showed by scoring the goal from the corner. But overall, I would say Auda had a really solid defense line, the midfielders as well. Attackers maybe not that noteworthy, but still, of course, did all the right things. But I want to quickly also just single out Alexei Savelius, who I think had an incredible game. He is very, very good for this sort of style of football that Auda play, moving the ball quickly, passing a lot of short passes. And he was, I think, one of the driving forces of the squad, also got an assist for the second goal. So Auda looking quite good. In the second half, of course, they sort of sat down in defense more. Supernova did have some chances, but still very solid at the back, and kept the clean sheet and got the 3 points.
It's good to see. I was a bit concerned about Auda this season with, Auda is sort of like almost like a B team of Riga FC in some ways. They share ownership and players rotate between the two squads, with Riga FC being considered by commentators as a like promotion for players from Auda. That's certainly what allegedly happened to Tomislav Stipic, the coach. So I was a little bit concerned about what Auda will look like with the coach, who is certainly a huge factor and presence in the last season's success, going to Riga, and a bunch of players rotating back and forth. But no, I agree, they're looking good, aggressive, quick attacking football, sharp passes. Will be exciting to see how they get on in Europe this season.
Yeah, will be very interesting to see. I think they have a good squad, and so far seems they're doing everything the right way. But moving on to Supernova, who played the basics of the basics, 4-4-2, with a couple of, I think, also interesting picks in the squad. For example, Kristers Lusiņš. He's at Supernova on loan from Valmiera, and I think this was a completely new position for him. Central midfielder. I think he was even more of a central defensive midfielder. And never seen him there, never played there. So that's an interesting pick. But on the other hand, a couple of experienced players as well for Supernova, such as the maestro Oleg Slajzans, and also Dennis Rakels, who has played in even the championship in England. So definitely some quality. And I have to say, I did expect much more from Supernova than I saw. Quite a disappointing performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't expect too much. I mean, they aged quite a bit compared to last year. All these signings that you mentioned, other than Lusiņš. Lusiņš is young, but Slajzans and Rakels, they're very much north of 30 by this point. Vishniakovs as well. You could see the difference they make. You could see the difference Slajzans makes. But maybe because they were added so very recently, they still have a bit of... They still need a bit of time to get to know one another. But I agree. It wasn't anything to write home about in the Supernova's play.
Yeah. I have to say that a couple of players did still impress me. Namely, the goalkeeper, Kudryavtsevs. I think he made at least 2 incredible saves. Really kept Supernova in the game. And I also think Patrikeyevs looked good. I don't think he has played in this league before. But young, tall, just very physical player. And I think he did all right.
Central defender, noteworthy, all players on the pitch for Supernova were all Latvian players. Not a single foreign player in the starting lineup. Yeah,
that is a positive, of course, and I'm not sure if they even have any foreign players as for now. So Latvian packed team. Definitely somewhere to improve as well, but will be interesting to see. on paper, their team's looking good, and theoretically, I think they should do all right this season with the caliber of players that they have.
Yeah, probably more defensive, counter-attacking football, long passes from Lysans.
Yeah. Another thing I can note out, because I was there, sort of a different point of view. I also had a bit of an impression that the team is not really gelled together emotionally, if that makes sense. I think there was a lot of times where Rakels was quite passionate and obvious about his disappointment in some of the choices and actions made by his teammates, whether he didn't get a pass or didn't get it in the right place. At times, it also seemed that Lysans just gave up and didn't bother to really run back in time. So I think there's definitely some chemistry lacking in the team, which should be worked on, because if you're too aggressive, well, of course, it depends on the players, but overall, if players like Rakels and Lysans get too sort of aggressive with the young lads, it's not always the best choice. Some, of course, for some it's motivating, but some sort of crumble under the pressure. And yeah, overall, I think there's somewhere to improve in terms of that chemistry as well.
Yeah, I remember last season watching, I think I was at one of the RFS Spartaks games, and close to the pitch could very much hear directions Lysans giving younger players, and not the gentlest of things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
All
true.
right. Well, next game, Aude is going to play Meta away, also on 18th of March, and then Supernova is going to battle it out with Tukums at home in Salaspils the next day on the 19th, which is a Sunday. And speaking of Tukums, next game was Tukums versus Daugavpils, where Tukums won 1-0 thanks to the goal by Samoilovs on the 60th minute. And this was an interesting one. I was very, very impressed with Tukums. I managed to watch pretty much the whole game, and as impressed as I was with Tukums, probably to the similar degree, I was disappointed with what I saw from Daugavpils. What did you manage to catch this one?
Yeah, I did watch the whole game. Well, it is an interesting one, because I think, of course, it's not really fair to compare, and overall the quality of football was lower in the Valmiera RFS game. But if we sort of take away the snow factor, I think this was really the lowest quality of football out of the first round, because, it was just a bit scrappy at times. But I would agree that Tukums did impress, but only because I just didn't expect as much from the squad that they have. If I just saw Tukums as they were and just didn't really look at players or anything, I wouldn't be that impressed. And I agree with Daugavpils that I did expect more from them. But overall, I think, a fair result. Tukums were the better team, but also some controversial non-given penalties to Daugavpils. I think they should have had at least one, and that would have made the whole game different. 1-1, who knows how it would end. But interesting game. Still, a lot of young players present in it, showing their skills, and was still interesting to watch, of course.
It was the way it was, also because I probably would have expected the dynamic to be exactly the opposite, with Daugavpils having more control of the game, and Tukums maybe working more on counterattacks or trying to find a break where they can, but it was pretty much the opposite. Tukums took control of the match and held it throughout almost the entire duration. They lined up in a fairly attacking position formation, 4-1-2-3, and they managed to press Daugavpils, who had to pretty much play on set pieces and counterattacks, which they were dangerous in, but that's just not, they're the bigger team here. And it was very interesting to see Tukums in this kind of a dominant, almost positional attacking play throughout most of the match. Daugavpils lined up 4-4-1-1, with Lizanov's, the fast forward, belongs to RFS, on loan again to Daugavpils, young guy, doing some very interesting things, almost earning a penalty. That's probably the one that you alluded to. He was chopped down by two Tukums defenders in the box. But other than that, I mean, there really wasn't all that much to it. Tukums would attack, wouldn't be able to find that finishing touch, and then Daugavpils would go on a break and either earn a set piece or not get a penalty, I guess. That was pretty much the whole game, back and forth like that.
Yeah, there weren't too many huge chances, I would say. I would like to highlight the Tukums midfield, Anmanis, Samoilovs, and Stuglis. I think they were very solid. The whole reason why Tukums did control the game. In terms of Daugavpils, just lacked I think a leader in the midfield. I'm just too scrappy. Of course, they do have the experienced Afanasyevs, 40 years of age, going for the Virsliga games record. He was, of course, solid, but I think there's a lot of still gelling together to do for Daugavpils. Even like the foreign players are, I think, all new to the team.
Every single one. Yeah. That was pretty remarkable.
Also something for us to get to know, because we're used to other Daugavpils foreign players. So I think it was just a nice to meet you from our side match for Daugavpils. Just seeing what the new players are about, not only the foreign but also the Latvian ones. For example, I think their defender Aizups. Same for Tukums with Mukulskis, young player from Liepāja. Looked quite solid. But as you said, it was just Tukums managed to score a scrappy goal. There were some chances, mostly from set pieces from Daugavpils. Couple of other chances for Tukums as well, but overall just a very mediocre game. Tukums taking the 3 points and moving on. As I said, for Daugavpils, they still have some gelling to do. Tukums as well, but it's looking just more positive for them. Really looking like they could again be pushing for the top of the bottom, 6th place.
Yeah. I mean, these two teams are direct competitors for this 5th, 6th place, I think. Well, 6th, maybe more than 5th, but yeah.
Well, these are the most, I think, the main competitors, but by the looks of it, there could be someone joining them. Of course, it's a big claim, but moving on to the next game. Jelgava was, very, very impressive for me. The most impressive team of the first round, battling it out against the big club, Riga FC.
And almost getting away with it. This is definitely the game of the round for me. 100%. The most exciting, the game that almost shocked the world of Latvian football, as medium-sized as it is, but it was amazing. Riga FC versus newcomers, newly promoted, extremely young, very local team, FS Jelgava. Match ended 2-1, Riga, but oh boy, it like literally one more minute and it would have been a draw and everyone would have lost their minds. So, wow, that was quite a game.
Yeah, I still feel a bit emotional, I think, even thinking about this game, because, it was just something so impressive and inspiring about Jelgava, the way they fought. They lined up all of the players were young, even though they have some more experienced players and even some foreigners on the bench. They played all Latvians only, all young. I think the oldest one was 21 years old, which is crazy. And the way, exactly, and the way they fought, just amazing. Of course, Riga dominated with the ball. They had a lot of attacks and chances, and I think by XG they should have won 4-0, but the way the Jelgava defended, and they didn't really look worried. They were just, the fighting spirit was there. It was obvious, and they can be really proud of themselves. It was incredible to see the way how they put their defense up against Riga's expensive attack.
Yeah, very much so. The average age of Jelgava's starting lineup is 19.65 years. As you said, the oldest player is 21. That's
crazy.
insane. I don't know what's the starting lineup value of Riga, but the value of club as a whole, I think, on Transfermarkt was like 14 million euros or something like that, and Jelgava is like 500,000 or somewhere in that ballpark. And they went out and they put up a fight. There is an interesting story with why this particular lineup, and this wasn't supposed to be the lineup that they were planning for this game. But it seems that, in the post-match press conference, the coach, Perkons, mentioned that the day before the game, they realized that some of their foreign players, there was something not quite finished with the paperwork, so they couldn't add them to the game. And so they thought what to do and with the coaching staff, and they decided that, these guys last season, they won the first league. They deserve to have a go, and so they lined up local Jelgava guys with this 19.65 years of age against the mighty and very scary Riga team, full of very expensive, as you said, foreign players. And they held their own, and they scored one back, and they almost held on to it until the 94th minute, when, following a cross from the right, Marko Regja literally just squeezed the ball with some unorthodox part of his body into the goal.
Yeah. As Yurkovskis crossed the ball, he sort of got in between the two defenders, put a leg to the ball, and even the first shot was saved with a very good it was a very good reflex save by Sturic, the Jelgava goalkeeper. And it just fell back right to the Regja's head, and he just tapped it in. But when the first save was made, just in the split second, I thought, if they now keep the draw, that's just an amazing story. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. It was a bit of heartbreak for me as I was watching it, because I don't mind Riga winning, and especially Marko Regja scoring. He's a Latvian striker who I think deserves a good season. But just seeing how the match was going, the spirit that Jelgava had, I wanted the fairy tale story, and the 1-1 draw, which they would have deserved, I think, just because of the first game and how they played. But also quite a scrappy match in terms of the emotions. A lot of conflicts. Was also that was also nice to see. Just some Riga players who were older and more experienced starting to push the Jelgava players, and all the Jelgava teammates just running up, pushing them back despite being younger, and everything was, the spirit is there. You can see it's an actual team, and some drama as well, which is also always interesting.
Even from the coach, Perkons, the Jelgava coach, got a yellow after throwing the ball away and having a bit of a scuffle with one Riga player. I think it was Niang. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's his Virsliga debut with a yellow, and in this game, which is I think speaks to this fighting spirit that you mentioned.
Yes,
what
exactly.
happened after Regja scored was stunning. Stipic, in his style, after the goal was scored, ran across the field, because the players were celebrating in a far left corner flag. Away from the bench, so he ran across the field there to celebrate with them. There's some videos of that. That's amazing. But he also had some not so kind words to say about his team after the game. He said that he thought that in the first half they were just not on the field. He admitted that something went wrong while preparing for the game, and what I found most interesting is that he said that well, we all met at the hotel before the game, but maybe they slept too much, ate too much, got too comfortable, implying that almost, I don't know what he's implying, but that's maybe the life of a Riga player is too luxurious to take a team like Jelgava seriously. I don't know. He was not happy with that. Something interesting, though, that he said that I think is highly noteworthy is that he compared Reggia to Raimons Krolis, who now plays in Serie A for Spezia, and saying that with two players like that, Reggia and Krolis, Latvia national team has nothing to worry about in the future. And why that's interesting is because Reggia has never been called up to the senior squad for the national team. He played in U21 and U19 and the U's before that, but never in the first team. And he's 24 now. He's older than Krolis. So this is going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. Stipic said that he will make sure that Reggia develops as a very dangerous and lethal striker. And I want to see what happens.
Yeah, as I said, he does deserve a good season. Yeah, just didn't. I think he was haunted by some injuries, didn't really get a break that he wanted. But yeah, now in Riga FC, as we can see, Stipic trusts him, and will be interesting to see. Another thing Stipic said after the game, which is I think a very Stipic thing to do, which just shows his character, as we said in the first or the introduction episode, that he's a very interesting coach to follow. I think he said something along the lines of that he dreamed that it will be a shit game, believe that if we have to, and that they will win 2-1 and Marko will score, which is a very interesting thing. I'm not sure how real is that.
Well, he meant a different Marko, though.
That's true.
He mentioned that he was thinking it would be
Dobro.
The defender Marko, not. So it was a little bit off there, but yeah, that was interesting. I remember that.
I think that's also a striker. I think they're both strikers. Dobro, I think also.
Too many newcomers.
Yeah, it's hard to follow. I agree, but yeah, still it ended up being the other Marko. So yeah, perhaps he has some skills we don't know about, that he can dream the outcome of the game.
Oh, I have no doubt. Looking at what he did with Auda last season, I mean, that just stands to reason.
But another thing I want to point out about the game, even though it was almost a very emotional draw for Jelgava, on the other side, Riga were the dominant team. And as one of the main Latvian football journalists, Edmunds Novickis, put in his Patreon, an interesting statistic was that the Brazilian from Riga FC, Douglas Aurelio, had 10 shots in the game, which is it's an incredible number, because last season the record was 7, and it was done only 3 times by Krolis, who loves to shoot. So it just shows that Riga had many chances, but usually the shots were off target or blocked, or from further distances, but still they were very dominant. And from that point of view, I think a win is deserved also by XG, but still just because of the spirit and the emotions, cannot knock Jelgava down. And I also don't think they were too defensive. I think they also went for their attacks, and I think they're gonna be a threat, especially from the bottom teams. And it will be interesting to see where they end up.
I think everyone expected Riga to pretty much walk over this one, and just the fact that they almost didn't. It's the Cinderella story, It's the David versus Goliath, where this it's like the miracle tale, where you have this this team of young guys who played with each other since they were like 12 or something, coming against this huge money machine full of internationals from the best places for football in the world, and winning. They didn't quite win, but I mean it's a fairy tale in the making.
I think they definitely won our hearts. That's for sure.
I think I predicted Jelgava for last place when we last spoke, and I think I'm ready to revise that prediction.
Yeah, but of course, on the other side, we also, I think it will be just right to say, hopefully Riga also get better, because that's not the performance we want from them, considering they are the favorites to win and the big team that should also represent us in Europe. So this was just a very underwhelming performance from them as well. So
yeah, one can play the devil's advocate and say, well, if Stipic needs to run across the field and joy for winning against Jelgava, well, how does that bode for the rest of the season? So something for Riga to think about. And they don't have long to think about it. Next game, as we already mentioned, home, big Riga derby, the best of Latvian club football versus RFS. It's going to be, assuming there's no blizzard again, this should be an exciting one. Whereas Jelgava are going to host Daugavpils. And we'll see how they fare against a team that is much closer to their level.
Yeah, exactly. Will be interesting.
And that's the first round. 4 out of 5 games happened. We'll see what happens with the postponed Meta Liepaja game, and we'll review that at some point later on. Overall, I think a pretty decent start. Everyone's very excited. It's a good start. We got a bit of everything.
Yeah, and also interesting to the fact that Liepaja and Meta didn't play. Now we sort of, in the second round, still get to see some teams playing for the first time. So that's also, I think, a nice little thing. The only positive we can really take out of the game being postponed.
Yeah, true. So something we want to try to do as part of this podcast is maybe to award a goal of the round for each round. For me, that is without a doubt Rubenis for Jelgava against Riga. So the goal that equalized the game, a beautiful half volley from somewhere around 20 meters, going through a box full of players of both teams right into the bottom right corner of the Riga goal. I think that was just beautiful to see.
Yeah, so I think anyone's mad if they even have to think about this one. I think it's a no-brainer. Rubenis against Riga. It's not only the goal itself was just beautiful, long distance half volley in the bottom corner. The speed of the ball was just fast and incredible, but also the fact that it was an equalizing goal for the unlikely team. Yeah, just everything about it was amazing. And I think it's an obvious goal of the round for Oskars Rubens for Jelgava.
Yeah, it may not mean much yet, but Oskars Rubens is the inaugural recipient of the Latvian Football Podcast Goal of the Round for round 1 of 2023 Virsliga. Congratulations. So next round, what do we have to look for? Hopefully 5 games. Jelgava will be hosting Daugavpils on the 17th on Friday. Meta will be hopefully hosting Auda, both something like of a small Riga derby, I suppose. Even though Auda are not historically from Riga, they pretty much are practically these days.
Yep. That's
first game on Saturday. After that, Valmiera is again at home versus Liepaja. Also on Saturday, 3 o'clock Latvian time, followed by the big Riga derby, Riga versus RFS. And then we close off the second round on Sunday with the Supernova hosting Tukums. What do you think will happen?
For the first game, Jelgava Daugavpils, I think it's a very tricky one because, as we saw, Jelgava with the fighting spirit and surprisingly good quality of the game, you could say that, okay, they should win it. On the other hand, Daugavpils has something to prove and improve. And because of that, also a draw could be a quite obvious result. It's really hard to predict, and I can't really confidently predict anything, but because Jelgava is playing at home, so the first game at home in Virsliga, there's going to be people. I think there's going to be a lot of people coming to the game. the locals from Jelgava, and I think the support is what's going to take them over the line, and I think they're going to get the first victory. So I would say something like 2-1 perhaps.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards maybe a draw as well. Well, I mean, you're not predicting a draw, but I'm leaning towards a draw.
Yeah,
maybe 1-1, something like that.
Yeah, that's I think that's
also
likely.
Because I think Jelgava is. They're probably going to try to field a slightly different lineup to actually give the new players a go that they couldn't include into the Riga game, and I mean that will obviously change things.
Yeah, I just quickly want to say about Jelgava that also because the football that Parkons likes to play, quite an attacking one, fast one. I think they're gonna do that because they're gonna think Daugavpils is a team they can do that against. But I think that's where they can sort of that could be their weak link, because against Tukums, Daugavpils, pretty much all they had was the counter attacks and the set pieces. So yeah, that could be something.
Both of which they're very dangerous at. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next game, Meta versus Auda. I think win for Auda. Probably a fairly comfortable one, maybe 2-0, or in somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah. Well, Meta didn't play the first game, so hard to tell. But as I didn't have much belief in the Meta in the first place, I still have no reason to change that. So, seeing how Auda played, I think quite a comfortable win for Auda probably.
And Valmiera versus Liepaja.
Again, Liepaja didn't play, so hard to tell. But I actually have a feeling it could be a draw. Liepaja are a bit unpredictable. Valmiera is still sort of building their squad. And I think Liepaja have more to prove. And they could sort of catch Valmiera out at some point. And I think it could be a draw. That's my prediction.
I think Valmiera is going to take this one. And I think it might not even be that close, to be fair. Yes, Valmiera has a changed squad, but it's not that changed. Liepaja, on the other hand, they kept like 3 people from last season. Everyone else is new. And we spoke about the coach, Tamas Pertia, in the previous episode, and I think they just need time to even figure out if this can work or not. So certainly looking at how they fared last season with a relatively strong Liepaja squad, I think Valmiera is going to take this one. Maybe 1-0, maybe 2-0, maybe 2-1, something like that. But
yeah, well, that's I think the first one where our opinions are that different. It will be interesting to see. I think that you have it's a good argument that you have for Valmiera to win. It's probable, but I just have a feeling that Liepaja will shock us a bit.
As you said, we haven't seen Liepaja play yet. That might be to their advantage. So hopefully we will see. We'll finally see what Tamas Perti is cooking up in there.
Yeah, and also against his previous team, which I think, knowing Perti, that's definitely a match he does not want to lose at the very least.
Oh, he didn't want to lose them last season either, and
that is true. That is true.
That didn't make any difference. Him coming in and saying that now I'm the coach of Liepaja, so we're gonna catch up to Valmiera and overtake them. No, Liepaja is not playing in Europe this year for the first time in many years. So it's one thing to talk smack, let's put it that way, and it's another thing to play against Valmiera.
It's true.
And the big Riga derby, Riga versus RFS. That I think is the least predictable one, to be honest.
Yeah, it could go so many ways. It's always a feisty matchup. The teams are always determined, and it's always a physical football, and not always even the prettiest football, even though the teams are both of quite high quality. But it will be very interesting. Also, the clash of the coaches. Hard to predict. Even now, thinking I don't really have a prediction, but I think Riga FC is gonna edge it. I have a feeling that they have more to prove because of the game against Jelgava. And I think Stipic is going to really want to show the best football that they can. show what they're capable of, and he knows the value of Riga derby. Of course, RFS do know that as well, but I think, Riga has more to prove, and I reckon they're going to edge it. So I'll go for a 3-2.
Oh, I don't see Riga scoring 3 against RFS. So this is going to be another one where we disagree. I think we had Riga play Jelgava, which was a fairly regular game with no snow interruptions, and they just barely made it. You pointed out Aurelio, trying lots of shots, but also many of them were from a distance and kind of just rolling the dice, really. RFS, on the other hand, they fought Valmiera at home. Well, at Valmiera's home. Yeah, there was snow, but arguably that makes things even more difficult, and they were the better team. I think they're gonna win. Maybe not by much, but I think maybe a 1-0 or 2-1 again against Riga. I think Riga might be suffering from the Riga syndrome again, which is exactly what Stipic pointed out in that press conference that I kind of quoted, where he's like, well, maybe we ate too much and slept too much and we're too comfortable. That I think that really hits the nail on the head with kind of what's this weird specter that's haunting Riga, where they have all these players and just things don't quite stick and work together. So RFS doesn't have this issue. They have other issues, some of which they seem to have worked on positively, like the central midfield. They have Robert Savalniek's back as a right wing back, which is a position that was hugely problematic last season. But then again, it's the Riga derby. Motivation is going to be, up to 11. So we'll see. Definitely an exciting game. I hope I'll be able to go and witness it.
Yeah, agree. I also quickly want to mention about my prediction. Taking away the winner side of prediction, I want to sort of quickly justify my prediction about so many goals. I just think that because RFS had this game against Valmiera where there are no goals and really no good football to be shown, they're going to want to be attacking. And same for Riga, because they, I will say, only scored 2 goals against Jelgava. I think both teams are really want to show more in the attack, which is going to make them more vulnerable in defense. So that's why I think there could be a lot of goals, but I can appreciate it's a quite crazy prediction. Usually these games they usually don't have that many goals, but yeah, hard to predict the winners. But yeah, I think it's even more interesting if we go the opposite ways. So yeah, will be an interesting match, and also hopefully I can catch that one live as well. Should be a very fun one, especially for the second round already.
I mean, sometimes they don't have many goals, other times they do. I think kind of this time last year, same game, also at Riga artificial ground. I think RFS won like 3-0, or maybe that was the year before.
I think it was the year before. I remember that one. Yeah,
that was a good game, but then equally, last year Riga won RFS like 3-0 home at Skonto. I think it was 3-0.
Yeah.
So they do happen. So let's keep our fingers crossed, I guess. All right, and finally, Supernova versus Tukums. I think Tukums, I think it's going to be a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I also quite a hard one because, Tukums did impress, but they didn't actually look good overall. Supernova, I think, a bit underwhelming. I also think it could be a draw. I think Supernova are going to improve a bit, and Tukums are going to struggle a bit, but I will go for a 1-1.
All right.
I back Oleg Slizans to score a long distance banger.
Oh, you even have a scorer prediction.
Yeah, well, why not? Let's try that.
Yeah, let's see. Well, exciting. We'll see what happens in a few days' time. We again invite you to watch Latvian football. We remembered the name of the other app where you can do so from abroad, OneFootball. So it's 11 and OneFootball are the 2 apps where you can enjoy Virsliga perfectly legit online from abroad, or obviously if you're local, just go to the website or on sport@centers.com. Also, please do follow us on Twitter at LVFootball_show. Let us know what you think. We're just starting out, obviously, but we'd love to get some feedback. Always welcome. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.